Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Fantastic to be here in person at Modex, and the level of innovation here this year is just off the charts. I mean, we've brought some fantastic stuff to the table this year, but I think in general, the level of innovation in the market is something to behold. That's really built over the last 5 years, and I think that's a little bit of what we're here to talk about today. Of how do you choose the right collaborative robotics solution for your warehouse? I've got a bit of experience of doing that myself. So before joining Locus, I used to work for DHL Supply Chain in the UK and a key part of my role was choosing the right robotic solution for the right warehouse. So as we go through that today, I'll share a little bit of my experience, and then as we talk about Locus more, I can speak into where Locus can fit, and how do you address whether Locus is right. So this is Boots Warehouse, Boots Burton in the UK. As you can hear from my accent, that's where I'm from. Very familiar with this site. So we're running in a 60,000 square foot area of Boots' site with over 200 collaborative robots. Boots actually has a lot of automation in the site that we complement. So they have Canap automation within the site, which then feeds into us for a pick area that we then complete on. And when the pandemic hit, Boots had just come out of their peak period, and then they basically went straight back in. And our solution there was a great example of how they could go from off-peak volumes to basically Black Friday volumes for the next 6, 12, 18 months as they saw out the pandemic. And having a solution where you can pick up kind of short-term throughput capability, which in the form of Locus is essentially short-term rentals, and then the rest of the fleet you rent off us on a robotics as a service basis. We are now at up to 200 contracted sites globally, so we operate in North America and Europe. And then we have around 80 customers as well. So as I mentioned, we have those sites primarily across North America, albeit we went into Europe in 2019 and have seen exponential growth there. Big markets for us are UK and France, but we're operating in over 10 countries in Europe. And last year we opened up our Amsterdam headquarters for Europe. We've also, this year, we will be going into the Pacific Rim. So we'll be going into Australia and Japan with 2 sites there, which we're very excited about doing. And we operate with some fantastic brands, as you'll see across the bottom here. But really coming on to kind of what are the problems that many of us face. I mean, labor is the obvious one, not only from a cost perspective, but from an availability perspective. As the rise of e-com, I mean, in the US alone, we've seen an increase by 40% of e-com volume between 2019 and 2021. By 2025 in the US alone, we're meant to see 25% of all retail orders be made in e-com. Ultimately, they're fulfilled out of a warehouse where everyone is competing for not only the same labor, but equally the same sheds as well. So the price of warehousing and the availability of warehousing is another problem, which means that you look at what can you do within the available footprint of your warehouse. And that's really where you start looking at collaborative robotics, whereby you want to make relatively little, if no, infrastructure changes. You want to have something that can scale or up or down as needs in which to address that demand. And then equally, you want something that is not completely automated, that you work with people, but there's less of a demand for people as well. So if we look at kind of 95% of warehouse operations look like this, then they're not automated. And so there's the dilemma of, do you go for an automated shed, or do you go for a shed where you operate with collaborative robots? And I think when I worked in industry, when I worked for DHL, the majority of sites that I would look at within a customer network were really geared around, actually, you can't do fixed term automation in all of those sites. It's got to be a mixture, particularly from a resilience point of view, where collaborative robots allow you the ability to scale or up and down, relatively low intrusion within your operation, and from a cost perspective, you've not got a huge capital outlay. So if we look at our range of solutions, under ultimately what our offering is called is Locus One. So that's our software platform. And then underneath that software platform, we have a product range. So we have Max, which is our largest bot. And that really operates on the basis of pallet movements, also point-to-point transport. The next one down from that is Vector, which is a 600-pound payload. And that can operate from sortation to point-to-point transport to replenishment. And then you go down into piece and each picking, but we can also do case picking on our origin bots as well. So we touched a little bit around that solution offering. So really the magic is in our software offering, which is Locus One. And then the fact that we operate a multi-bot solution underneath that is really what we have as an execution platform within your warehouse. And what's so attractive to many of our existing customers, as well as the prospect, the fact that you may have problems within your warehouse, whether it's replenishment or picking, and you can come from us to all of those, but also have the business intelligence that comes from it, and the confidence that people can be trained on our solution, and they can operate from anything from put away through to replenishment to ultimately point-to-point transport going out the door as well. So what our solution starts with is ultimately orders from a WMS, and we take the more orders that we can get, ultimately the better. And what that allows us to do is batch and optimize on the basis of that. So what we do is we take that cluster and we will look for like orders in a proximate area. And what we will try to do is take as many of those orders as possible, and it doesn't matter whether it's a vector bot, whether it's an origin bot, whether it's a max bot, we will ultimately try to do that wherever possible. And what that does is really start to decrease the non-productive walk-in. So what you do is take those orders and you start firing bots into that area, and what that allows the people to do within that area is, rather than walking a traditional pick walk, where you go up and down and you might walk 10 miles a day, is actually you're segmented to small clusters of demand all throughout the day, where it significantly decreases your walk-in. And so when we grab those orders, the bots will go out, and if I just skip ahead slightly to step 5 here, which is very different to a normal pick walk and a normal cart walk, is our solution is agnostic from the perspective that I can go and pick with one bot, and then once I've picked in that bot, I might choose to follow that bot to the next location because it's only up there, or I might choose to go to another bot which is directly in front of me, and we direct that. So we'll come onto our user interface, but ultimately it's not like your associate is blind. They're getting direction as to which bot is closest to them, to help them make the right decision to minimize their unproductive walk-in and then to increase their productivity. And that's a key way that we drive kind of 2 to 3 times X productivity within our customer sites. So I spoke briefly around our product range. We took on Waypoint Robotics last year, and that's come into our overall solution offering, which is under Origin and Max. So Max is our largest payload bot. That's a 3,000-pound bot, 1,360 kg for those in Europe. And effectively, the use cases that you can look at for that, and this is all around picking the right bot for the right solution. And so you can look at that for full case picking. You can look at that for pallet picking. You can look at that for full case replen. And it's really that that larger portfolio where you might have used a pump truck, you might have used a pallet truck, and instead you could use Max in which to do that operation. The next one up is Vector. And Vector, again, could be used for larger kind of case picking and replen. We are pulling together quite an attractive offer in terms of user interface as well. So we're looking into voice options for that, as well as a tablet option to be able to operate. And then with our partners ProGlove, you can also use the scanners that we have on offer there. Both Vector and Max, compared to our Origin solution, operate on the basis of an omnidirectional wheels. So it means that they're incredibly agile within the spaces that they operate. And our Origin bot is ultimately, that's what we've built our success on, the basis of the agility that Origin can operate on. Origin can operate into aisles of up to, down to 1.1 meters at a single thoroughfare, and then up to 1.8 meters is where you can start to have two-way traffic within aisles. So we've just unveiled Origin 2 as well, which offers a higher payload within Europe. So we can offer up to 36 kilograms under CE certification in Europe. And then that also offers a 25% increase over Origin 1 as well. So I spoke a bit about agility within aisle, and this is a bird's eye view of any operation, whether it be peak or off peak. So the first is the ability to leapfrog. There will be narrow aisles, wider aisles where our bots need to get round, and we can easily do that within any existing warehouse environment. The next one is that two-way bot traffic. So for our Origin bots, we require a minimum of 1.8 meters in which to do that. But we can do one-way bot traffic at down as low as 1.1 meters as well. Obviously, with the two-way bot traffic, you can increase your productivity more so with that. But we still get fantastic productivity even in narrow aisle operations. We operate in a lot of mez floor operations, both in North America and Europe. And we also have some great features within our mez floor operations like pick and pass as well. We also have the ability to redirect. So if there's something being blocked in an aisle where the bot needs to get down to the location, that bot is intelligent enough to redirect on the basis and find an alternate route to that location. Then equally maneuverability as well. So ultimately, one of the complexities that comes with operating a collaborative robot within a warehouse environment is the fact that things change a lot, whether that's boxes poking out of an aisle, whether it's a pallet's been dumped in an area, and our solution can really cope with all of those scenarios because it is so maneuverable. So our Origin bot operates on the basis of what we call the Z-axis, which is ultimately that it can spin on a single axis. And then, as you saw from Vector and Mavec as well, Vector and Max, is that operates on the basis of omnidirectional wheels, which can move in a similar maneuverable way. And then the last one is that ability to adjust and find alternate routes around. So really, any collaborative solution, it comes down to the user interface as well. So our robotics ultimately are reliant on people to do their jobs successfully. And rather than using a green screen RDT, which one is very cumbersome to train people on, takes a long time to train people on, but it is also not very user-friendly. And so what we've tried to do with our solution as much as possible is emulate some of the user interface that you would be familiar with on a smartphone, where ultimately we want anyone to be able to pick up our technology, walk straight up to it and pick, and people literally do. So for those that have been able to stop by our booth at Modex, people have been bowled over by just how easy it is to pick. And within operations, a lot of the savings that our customers see is twofold. It's one, a reduced training time, so people can literally be trained within 10 minutes. but then secondly, a reduced speed to competency as well. So people getting up to that rate much quicker than they would with an RDT device, where they might even need to have a trainer that stays with them throughout their first couple of weeks. Not so with our solution. So a couple of ways that we do that is we have a patented Locus tag where you wear that, you walk straight up to the bot, and that allows you to pick. It also allows that bot to identify me uniquely. So you can see in the top right-hand corner, that Locus tag is then tied to me as a colleague, as an associate. And then we have some great features that come around that. So one is we can tailor that tag to whatever language that person is in. So a couple of examples here. One is in Spanish, and then one is in Japanese as well. But we offer a wide variety of languages with over 20 on offer. And then ultimately, if we don't have that language, we're always willing to try and accommodate wherever possible to convert this UI into the language of the native user. The other bits that come with this as well, so when you're going to a pick location, it's very, very clear, almost to the point where users are actually seeing, approaching a bot, can see the location and the product that they need to pick. They'll get to that location, and then as the bot arrives, they can pick straight into it. Then we also support the ability to have the photos as well of the product, which just improves the pick accuracy that we're able to offer. Quantity is super clear as well, and then that plus or minus, ultimately if you've got an exception, all you do is press the minus on there, pick the exception reason, and then that will be logged to the WMS within there. And then we've got an integrated scanner on the bottom of the iPads that we use, but as I mentioned earlier, we do also have the option to be able to pick using ProGlove as well, which is a partnership that we have. The last bits to kind of mention up on the top right-hand side is when you pick, you then have a robot indicator, which is then pointing to the 2 nearest bots. And we are also shortly bringing out a feature where ultimately, if that bot is going to the next location, it would indicate to you to stay with that bot, so that you go the shortest distance to the next pick. And then the last bit on the top right-hand side is gamification. So people at sites really, really engaged with this. So they want to and are interested in the pick rates. So compared to manual carts where people don't know the pick rates that they're doing to, but also aren't interested in, that gamification really gets to the point where people are chasing their rates throughout the day and wanting to be in the top 10% of all pickers at the site. And many of our customers do incentivization off of that as well. Moving on from user interface to ultimately when you're interacting with the bots to then what sits behind that user interface and a lot of the business intelligence that we have there. So this is taken from one of our operations where this lady she's got her WMS screens on the right-hand side, but actually what her eyes are fixed on are our array of dashboards, which are all updated in real time and often actionable insight at various levels, which we'll touch on now. So starting right at the top, whether it's your site director or an exec within your global or central functions, you have the ability to log into Locus View and be able to see whether it's on your tablet, whether it's on your PC, how your sites are performing in real time. You also have the ability to access some historical data, but a lot of the emphasis is, given how fast-paced operations are now, is developing a great real-time dashboards that offer real-time decision-making so that you can make changes on the fly throughout the day as things change. The next up is then at the operation management level. Ultimately, you've got 20, 30 associates in which to manage. Having that information in real time to say, I know one of my associates is really struggling, let me go over and see what I can do to support them, or actually everyone's doing a great job, why don't we go around and congratulate them on how well they're doing throughout the day. And also areas of hotspots of activity where you can direct people towards and also drive pick into those areas. A lot of our dashboards offer that ability, and you can tailor this to your operation as well, whether it's on a zone-by-zone basis or on a floor-by-floor basis. And then the last bit is ultimately one of the things that we do as well is we display a lot of TVs around operations, and that allows associates to become interested in it, see whether it's our pick maps or rate performance, and you can see people in any Locus operation glancing up at these and accessing that information, which is huge compared to manual operations and kind of your traditional RF gun operations. So then, when it comes to peaks, that's one of the really attractive things around our robotics as a service solution. We send you in operations based on your projections of peak. So it might be 20, 30 bots that you rent on a short-term basis. We do rentals for a minimum of 30 days, but you can run that short-term rental for as long as you want. And then ultimately you package it up, pull out the cart, and just as you've just seen in that video, within 3 minutes that that bot is set up for your site. And then when you're done at the end of that peak period, that allows you to just send that straight back. So I spoke at the start of this around boots as an example. That was a great example of where we sent them in, I think in the region of 60 short-term rental bots in which to support their peak. And that's something that we do throughout the year for many customers in many industries. So kind of coming on to what's our solution offering from a commercial point of view, we offer what's called a robotics as a service. So ultimately you pay a prescription charge, you pay a single charge up front, which is what we coin as a setup fee, and then you'll pay a recurring annual charge in which to lease your core fleet of bots. So let's say you had 50 bots, you would pay that annual charge on a subscription basis, and then if you needed peak bots for 2-3 months of the year, you pay that subscription charge just for those 2-3 months of the year, and then ultimately those bots come back to us. It's also a fantastic platform because what we don't provide is just a product. We provide an overall service. Most of our contract terms are 3 years, and we are with you for the lifetime of that 3 years. So our customer success team in particular are world-class in industry, and they will stay with you from deployment all the way through to optimization and continuously drive them for not only the rate that we say as part of our contract that we're going to achieve with you, but better in that. And I work within the product team, and we are continuously coming out with new features based on the requests of our customers, but as well as where we want to go in industry. And you benefit from that as part of this subscription service, but also one of the things that people often worry about with automation or robotics is how do you sweat your assets as well. And we offer a great ability to be able to do that, because not only can you do picking with it, you can do put away, you can do inventory checks with it, you can do point-to-point transport, and that doesn't change the cost. That is ultimately bucketed under our robotics as a service. So you constantly have the ability to make sure those bots are being really utilized within your operations. And then these are just a couple of anecdotes from some of our customers. So DHL, as an example, have seen a 2x productivity improvement. They've seen a 50% reduction in cycle time as well, and then an 80% reduction in training time. And those are numbers that I'm not surprised at all, particularly the training piece, just because our solution is so intuitive and so easy in which to use. And then the second one on here, a little bit of a repeat of earlier, but boots. So one thing that we haven't mentioned on as well is just how safe these bots are. And for those that have been here in Modex in person, we've had around 20 bots running in a fairly condensed area with hundreds of thousands of visitors throughout the day. And people can operate very, very close with our bots without any worry of safety incidents. So Boots actually saw a 77% reduction in safety incidents as a result of introducing our bots compared to their manual pick carts. And then they've seen as well a 2x productivity improvement over what they had previously. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to me. I hope that was useful. And And for those that can, please stop by our booth to see us at Modex. But equally, if you're not able to see us at Modex, we're more than happy to entertain site visits as well, for you to be able to see our solution in person and see if that's going to be right for your operation. Because I think one thing as we've been throughout this is our solution isn't right for every single site, and we'll be the first ones to tell you that. But we do have a fantastic solution that is very, very adjustable to many operations and can help out in a variety of ways. Thanks.